Many of you came to me after our previous discussions asking, but Neville, if I stop trying, won't everything fall apart? Let me tell you a story that will illuminate this principle further. There was a lady in my audience in New York who had been trying to sell her house for 2 years. She had listed it with countless agents, reduced the price repeatedly, and was constantly trying to make the sale happen. After hearing this principle, she did something remarkable. She went home that night and did what I'm teaching you. Instead of trying to sell the house, she assumed it was already sold. She sat in her favorite chair and constructed a scene implying the sale was completed. In her imagination, she held the check in her hands, feeling its crisp texture. She felt the joy and relief of the completed sale. Most importantly, she stopped trying to sell it. Within 1 week, a buyer appeared who purchased the house at her original asking price. You see, the lady's constant trying was her confession of not having, and therefore she could only reap the harvest of not having. The moment she assumed the completed state, the law of consciousness had to operate to bring it into her experience. Let me take you deeper into Scripture, for remember, the Bible is not telling the story of historical events, but is revealing eternal psychological truths. Consider the story of the Israelites trying to enter the Promised Land. For 40 years they wandered in the wilderness, trying to reach their destination. But it was only when they stopped trying, when they followed the instruction to stand still and see the salvation of the Lord, that the walls of Jericho fell and they entered their promised land. This is not just a historical account, it is your story. Your desire is your promised land, and your trying is your wilderness wandering. The walls of Jericho represent all the seeming obstacles between you and your desire. But these walls fall not by effort, but by assumption. Now, let me give you a practical technique that I call the Sabbath. In Scripture, God rested on the seventh day, not because he was tired, but because the work was done. This is your guide. When you properly assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you too must rest from your mental labor of trying to make it happen. This is your Sabbath. Every time you find yourself trying to make something happen, catch yourself and remember, the trying is a confession of absence. Instead, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled and rest in that assumption. This is what it means to enter into his rest. Consider how you operate when you truly have something. When you have money in the bank, do you try to have it? No, you simply know it's there. When you are in your own home, do you try to be there? Of course not. You simply are there. This is how you must be with your desires. Let me share another principle that few understand. Your consciousness is God's gift to you, but what you do with it is your gift to God. When you try to get something, you are essentially telling God that his gift is incomplete, that something is missing. But when you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you are accepting the gift in its completeness. Many of you have asked me about taking action. Never you say, if I stop trying, should I stop doing? No, my dear friends, action will still occur. But it will be inspired action rather than desperate action. When you assume the state of the wish fulfilled, you will be moved to take whatever action is necessary, but it will feel natural and effortless. Think of a bird building its nest. It doesn't try to build, it simply follows its inner pattern. The action flows naturally from its state of consciousness. This is how your action should flow, not from trying, but from being. Here's a profound truth. The universe cannot give you what you want. It can only give you what you are. As long as you are trying to get something, you are being someone who lacks that thing. But when you assume the consciousness of having it, you become someone who has it, and the universe must respond accordingly.